Have you ever played a game and thought, oh, I wish I could go back and do that turn differently?
That's exactly what you're doing in Trouble on the Tempus by Minor Disaster Games.
Welcome to Box Meeples. I'm Libby, this is Julian, and today we're talking about Trouble on the Tempus. Minor Disaster Games have kindly sent us a prototype of the game, and we have been enjoying playing it.
So, Martin McFly, Sam Beckett, and Cher, what do they all have in common? They all want to turn back time for some reason. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this game. We're on a spaceship, and just imagine it, it's exploded. But don't worry, one of the crew has jumped in there, hit the time drive, and we've gone back in time, back to the very start to try to stop that explosion happening. It's a very exciting situation, and our ship is just about to leave, so I think it's time to board.
So we've played through a few scenarios of this now. We've played it just the two of us, and then the youngest in the family wanted to have a little join in on this space journey, and so we've also played it in a 3-player scenario with an 11-year-old. So it worked quite well with either or and with that age range.
And yeah, but please say on both occasions, yay, we saved the ship. We did not die.
Well, kind of. We'll get to that in a minute.
So in this game, obviously, we know the ship is going to blow up. And we know why it's going to blow up. You reveal kind of an objective card, and you know that on this occasion, the ship has no thrusters. It's just drifting through space, and we have no way of steering it. Or, indeed, the back of the ship is totally on fire, and eventually it's going to just blow up because of the flames.
Yeah, and so each round, we're obviously going to be able to take some movement and then take an action. That might be picking up something or trying to fix something, that kind of thing. And at the end of each of our rounds, there's going to be a sort of pandemic style disaster card. And that deck will have been stacked in a similar manner to that system, so that there are some cards which are basically very explosive and very bad, but within sections. So I mean, we did have a game where those two bad
things happened back to back,
which was
and I do
panic worthy.
I do like that kind of ticking you have with those cards. You know that's how long you've got, but it seems like an impossible goal to start off with. How on earth are you going to get all the stuff you need to say the ship's on fire? How on earth are you going to get the fire extinguishers, put out the fire before it starts spreading throughout the ship, before the inevitable happens? It seems all too much. And for your first kind of playthrough, it suggested that on your first iteration, you can't actually complete it without doing the vital going back through time bit.
I think you're always kind of going to need to do that. I think that every time that we have played, that first jump through, oh, there's a fire in this and that. Oh, there's damage here and there. Oh, there's an explosion. And all the meantime, all you're trying to do is kick yourself up and get to the place that looks like it's the worst disaster zone. But by the time you get there, the entire ship is a disaster zone.
It goes pretty badly pretty quickly.
Yes.
There's so many ways you can fail. There's going to be too much fire. You're going to run out of fire tokens. Too much damage, you run out of damage tokens. You die. Someone opens the airlock by accident or on purpose. You get sucked out of the ship. You die. There's so many ways you're going to fail, but only one way you can succeed. And it does seem awfully hard, but I do love the fact that as you are revealing these cards, what's going to happen where is going to change every game, because it's quite clever how you put numbers down on the token. So a card doesn't say there's going to be an explosion in the tool shed. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be there'll be an explosion in zone 2. And where zone 2 is on this particular game is going to change every time. But then when you get to the time thing, you flick the switch. You go back in time. You take what you have with you. So your first go through of it all should be just kitting up, making sure, there's going to be a load of fire that happens. There's going to be some explosions that happen. How do you deal with those? Where are they going to be? What doors do we need to shut to minimize those situations just exacerbating, getting worse and worse and worse? And because you reveal the cards in a certain order, that order is returned in the same order. So suddenly your second iteration through becomes kind of this memory game of you collectively going, okay, we know fire breaks out round about there. How do we deal with that? And when does that happen? We know there's going to be an explosion that happens then. Probably on turn 4 it happens. So we don't need to be there at turn 4, because then we're going to be hit by debris, we're going to take damage and potentially die.
Yeah.
And speaking of death, that's kind of temporary, because you're not dead at the start of the game. So therefore, if you die during the iteration of it, you weren't dead. So when you go back in time, you come back to life, and it's so cool that everything returns to as it was. Any progress you've made on your mission actually resets. You have to do that again, but more importantly, all the damaged ship is no longer damaged.
The fact that you have that, because I was concerned initially. I thought, okay, so there's this game where you're kind of doing this sort of firefighting mechanism, running around the ship trying to solve all these problems, and then there's this kind of back in time, and I thought, well, that sounds quite cool. But then I thought again and thought, I'm not sure, am I going to want to replay all that from the beginning? This is before having played it. I was kind of thinking, I don't know. Am I gonna kind of think, well, I'm just rehashing what I've already done, so what's the point? But the game changes so much from going back in time, partly because you've kitted yourself up, so what you're needing to do at certain points is different. But of course you have that knowledge, so every move you do is now informed, and you're doing something completely different. So that game doesn't feel repetitive at all.
No.
You feel like you're continuing the play, and you're playing a whole nother version rather than rehashing old ground, which is really nice to see. The game forces you into rewinding time, because things get so bad, and they're meant to get so bad. And I think it's good that it gets to a point where you have to engage the game's mechanism. And then from that point onwards, everything is different, even though it's the same.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting as well is those paradox cards.
Yeah, so playing with time isn't something that anyone should really do. We've learned this from films.
We have.
There's a good chance you're going to create some sort of paradox. Now, these paradox are as varied as the kind of the missions are. You have different ones for each game. Some of them do weird stuff. Actually, they all do weird stuff. Some are helpful.
Yeah.
Some are really not. And you don't know what's going to happen. So where you flick the button, you're going to go back in time, place a paradox card in before you return the cards back together. Now, when you get to that paradox cards, that's when you did the time jump. So something weird's going to happen. You don't know what it is, but then you reveal it, and then you have to act out whatever that is, be it good, bad, or ugly. And that is really exciting, because yes, you feel confident, you feel quite cocky as you go through on your second and third iteration. Yeah, we go, next explosion there. Maybe not.
If you can remember it correctly.
Yeah, maybe the paradox card is just going to change all of that completely. Or it could be you no longer have control over who takes what turn when. It could be you can't engage with each character in the same way. But you don't know that until it happens. So doing too many time jumps, bad idea.
Bad thing. Yeah.
As we got used to the mechanisms of it, we noticed our ways of playing changed. On your first way through, you don't really need to work on the objective. You need to just accept that at some point, this ship is going to get so ruined, we're going to have to go back in time. And at that point, not just the ship is reset, all the stuff you can pick up is reset. So suddenly, you're not limited to only having 2 fire extinguisher. A third player can pick up a fire extinguisher.
And also, interestingly, each player does have like a slightly different sort of thing that they're able to do. So one might be able to move a little faster if they're not wearing a suit, for example. Or one of the games that we played, I played a character which could do their action in between the movement, whereas normally you'd have to do it either at the beginning or the end of your movement turn, whereas I could sort of move one, do something, and then carry on, which was quite handy. I quite enjoyed it. But you might then find that because of that element, someone might have been able to get some kit on their first run around, and then you all meet back again
back at the start,
at the top of the ship, and you think, well, actually, we could do some kit trading now, and that will actually really help us lean into our characters a little bit more and help us out, because I think that you're going to be best suited now to run to this area and do this, because that helps with your skill, because you've got that knowledge, you've got that information, so then you know who is best to pick up what and go run for what sort of kit
I think
help you.
I had a cool character who could kind of remotely control the doors from wherever they were on the board, and I think the most exciting moment we had in this is when we're playing as a 3-player with our daughter, in that one card came up and it was an explosion. It was all the doors in the corridor are going to switch, so if they are unlocked they become locked, if they were locked they became unlocked, and on a later iteration we knew this was going to come, so we could then position the doors in the orientation we wanted, unlocked or locked, knowing that that switch was going to happen, and therefore any fires would be contained because they can't move through locked doors. And it felt so satisfying when that clicked into place, and we knew we essentially knew we'd won. But the problem is we had forgotten the fact that when explosions happen,
You get knocked down.
everyone falls to their feet, and that's when it got a bit shaky, and our maths had gone a bit awry.
We needed to take that extra few turns because we would sort of calculated the movement it would take to get back to the top of the ship, forgetting that it takes a movement to get up. So every calculation that we'd made was one wrong. So then we're needing to sort of fight off what was then going to happen in that unknown turns that we had. And what did happen in those unknown turns is that there was more damage and more explosions, and so both you and your daughter died. I was left trying to get back
but we're
to the top of the
depending on
ship.
you have to press the time. We're dead. If you don't press that time button now, there's no saving this ship. And similarly, we had one experience where we were in the airlock and we had to put out a lot of fire. So it's a case of you get as far away from the airlock, close some doors behind you, because I'm going to open this door. I've got a spacesuit on, I'm going nowhere. Let's just suck out all the flames out of this. We'll meet our objective. Much cooler way of doing it.
Yeah, that was really satisfying. Really cool way of doing it.
And you do have these kind of things that crock up in the game. That is just fun. It is a really fun game to play, and so ridiculously tense. You know what's going to happen. Yeah, that doesn't stop it being, oh God, that explosion's going to happen next turn. Are we prepared for it?
The thing is, you know what's going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen. It's funny because you don't remember things exactly, and because you've done things slightly differently, they occur slightly differently. And so then the way that the fire is going to spread, for example, you might have shut a different door, so then it spreads in another direction, and then it could be even worse because you'd forgotten there was a fire token in there originally, and then that's then going to spread, and then you're going to get damaged, which you hadn't calculated for, because you haven't
explosions.
Explosions.
So
that's fun, and it's quick.
It is.
Yeah, it's pacey.
You'd think, playing a game through essentially 3 times, that's going to take ages. No, it takes less than an hour to play through a whole thing. And that hour is jam-packed. And fortunately, in some of these games, you get someone who knows the game and they start to take over. And we haven't had that. We haven't had this kind of quarterbacking or whatever it's called. When we've been playing these games. It's always kind of been a mutual decision because no one can always remember exactly what happens when. So there's always that vagary, and that's a wonderfully shared experience. We've had such a fantastic time playing this game. Obviously, if this is of interest to you, we've got all the details of the crowdfunding down below so you can follow. And obviously, don't sleep on this one. Yes, it may not be, it is another space game, but it's a good one. It's an exciting one. It's a different one. Yeah,
if you like that kind of pandemic style of game where you're trying to go around and fix different problems, and you like space games, then this is one that you should check out.
But let us know what you think of Trouble on the Tempus. Have you played a similar game like this that has some sort of time manipulation in it? Yeah, do let us know in the comments down below. And will you be back in this game? What's excited you about this? Have you maybe played it at a convention? Do let us know what your experiences were of that game.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you. Of course, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, we would really love it if you do that as well, and ring that bell so you see more of our videos that come up. We put up at least 2 videos every single week all about board games.
But as always, thanks so much for watching.
Bye.